Good morning. Could we please take a seat? You want to sing there? Okay. If I could get your attention, please. Thank you very much. We're about to start the program. I hope you enjoyed your breakfast. Did you like it? You looked like you did. Because you know why? Because you didn't have to cook it, and that's the best part, isn't it? We ladies know that. If I could have, I'm very honored to introduce at this time my dear friend, the Dean of the Lowell Delegation, State Rep Tom Golden, who will lead us in an invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, and a moment of silence. Tom?
Thank you very much, Rita. Please join me for the invocation. Dear Holy Father, maker of heaven and earth, through your Son Jesus, we pray that your loving hand would guide all of us gathered here this morning as we join with the Salvation Army in their mission of bringing light, hope, and help to many in our community who are facing despair, isolation, hurt, need, and tragedy. May their lives be touched and made better through the efforts of the Salvation Army, and may you bless all of their staff, volunteers, and supporters as they fulfill your commandment to love and care for others. Amen. Would you all please join me right now in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everyone could please remain standing. The Kunzler family would like to ask for a special moment of silence for a dear friend who would have been beaming in the front row. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please have a moment of silence for Mr. Bill Rizos. Thank you all. God bless Billy.
Thank you very much, Tom. Good morning. You are awake. I'm very impressed. We're off to a good start there. And welcome to our 27th annual Christmas Castle breakfast. I wish to introduce our Christmas Castle chairperson, our Michael Kunzler right over here, a well-known member of the Greater Lowell community. Mike is an alumnus of Lowell High School, and it is there that his roots grew. That is why he is rather tall, but seriously, Michael enjoyed team sports as a member of the varsity football team and developed the understanding of individual performance for the benefit of the team as a member of the varsity wrestling team. I could put you in a double arm bar. I know the moves too. A half Nelson, right? The cradle. I could do it. My body is a lethal weapon. You do know that, right? Michael was an assistant coach and a head coach at the Greater Lowell Tech. His coaching career included several CAC championships and was highlighted by another state title in 1996 with Lowell High School, and named Lowell Sun and Boston Globe Division I Coach of the Year. Thus, all sports promotion, right? All right, there you go. Mike attended UMass Lowell and studied criminal justice. After he graduated with honors from the Lowell Police Academy in 1986, Michael joined the Lowell Police Department. I would go on further, but we would be here till like 10 o'clock with all his accomplishments and his awards, so I won't do that. However, before I introduce Mike, we are going to hear from a few of his friends who want the opportunity to make him feel a little bit more uncomfortable for a few minutes. And you better not disappoint me either, guys. The Salvation Army thanks the distinguished and lively panel of roasters, and I almost said roosters, I don't know why, assembled here this morning who need no prodding to participate in this roast, and they are former Senator Steve Panagiotakis, and as you can see, I'm not the only athlete up here on the platform this morning. What is funny about that? Look at, can't you just tell? But anyway, that's okay. I'm not the only athlete up here on the platform this morning, but with us is a professional football player who played for the New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not, oh, wait a minute. I was so confused. Blake Galvin Jr. I would say John Blake Galvin Jr., but nobody really knows the John part of it, just Blake. And retired Lowell Police Sergeant for the Lowell Police Department, Jack Dolan. But just before our roasters come forward, I would like you to pay attention to the screen as we have some important people who wanted to share their congratulations to Mike. Am I going a little bit too fast because I should have introduced you, right? That's all right. It'll be the order that I decide. That's okay. To share the congratulations, we have Governor Baker. We have former Police Superintendent Ed Davis, and we have the Dropkick Murphys.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, and I apologize for horning in on this morning's festivities, but I did want to take a second to just congratulate and thank Mike for all the work he does for the Salvation Army. Up in Lowell and up in the Merrimack Valley, Mike and his friends and his co-workers and his colleagues have raised over $5 million over the course of the past few years for great causes. And let's face it, there are few causes as terrific as the Salvation Army. And I certainly expect the Lieutenant Governor and myself, once again, will be making the trek up to Lowell to come see WCAP and participate in their annual fundraiser for Salvation Army. But today is all about Mike and all about his heart and his generosity and the commitment that he and Cindy have made time and time again to the citizens and to the residents of the Merrimack Valley and of Lowell. And to Mike, I would just say to you, this is an honor well-deserved and recognized, and I hope you can accept it with the sense of gratitude with which it's being delivered. You do great work up there, Mike. You've been a trooper for years, for so many causes, and I can't tell you how much we all appreciate it and how glad I am to be able to call you my friend. Take care.
Good morning to everyone. Sorry I can't be there with you today, but I wanted to take a minute to congratulate my friend and former colleague, Michael Kunzler. Mike is a guy who worked tirelessly for the Lowell Police Department, established the first DARE program in this area, and built relationships with kids and with community members that still maintain today. Mike left the Lowell Police Department and started his own business. He became a very successful businessman. But he's a guy that never forgot where he came from. Mike has worked tirelessly to support the efforts of the Salvation Army, an organization that I've always loved to work with. The Salvation Army does incredible work in the community of Lowell, helping those who need it most. But it couldn't do that job without the work of people like Michael Kunzler, his wife Cindy, and the other men and women across this community that support their great efforts. Michael is special though. He's been able to raise $5 million in a community where that's not easy to come by. We all owe Michael a debt of gratitude. I believe that what the Salvation Army is doing today in honoring him will perpetuate his work and make us all work harder to make this a better community. Michael, congratulations. Cindy, congratulations. I'm proud to call you my friends.
Mike Kunzler, you got a big award tonight. We're so happy for you. You're a hell of a guy. You raise a shitload of money for charity. You inspire us all. God bless your heart. I hope you have a great day. We love you, buddy. Hip, hip. Hooray!
Oh, that's good. Very good. Good for you there, Mike. Thank you very much. I did receive the list of people that are here, although each of you, to me, a special distinguished guest, each and every one of you. They still give me this list to point out certain people, but I would have liked to start down there and go right around the room and everybody say their name because you are distinguished. But I'd like to introduce Tony Archensky, Selectman from Dracut. David Nangle, Housing Authority from Dracut. Jim Scanlon, LRT Administrator. My new colleague to be, City Councilor Dan Rourke. And I'm being pretty serious here. Did you know and can you believe that there are 69 languages in the Lowell school system? That's amazing, isn't it? But when Danny Rourke was there at school, there were 70 languages. So I think that's amazing. Alicia Hughes, a select woman from the town of Dracut. Jeff Winwood, our Lowell Fire Chief. Chancellor Jackie Maloney, UMass Lowell Chancellor. David Nangle, State Representative. City Councilor Rodney Elliott. Congresswoman Laurie Trahan. There. Sam Poulton, Neshoba Technical High School School Committee. State Representative Ratty Mom, I did see you come in here. And I think this is important. I think once you're a city manager, you're always a city manager. Former city manager Jim Campbell. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Former school committee man Robert Gignac. There you go. So I went to confession last Saturday and I said, Father, forgive me for I have sinned. I beat up a politician on Friday. Father said to me, confess your sins, my child, not your good deeds. But anyway, that's, and I went to the dentist. The dentist told me I need a crown. I was like, I know, right? But anyway, that's all right. I'm just kidding. I thought Tom Bowmill was going to come up here in person and give me this list, but he sends here Karen, but and I didn't have anything to zing you with, but Tom, I'm still going to get you, because no one ever says anything bad about Tom Bowmill, but Tom Bowmill is retired, and he and his wife, they're getting bored. So he says to his wife, let's have some excitement in our life. Let's make our days interesting. Well, for example, he and his wife went into town and they went into shop. They were only in there for about 5 minutes. When they came out, there was a police officer writing a ticket, a parking ticket. They went up to him and said, come on, man, how about giving a senior citizen a break? He ignored them. The police officer just continued writing the ticket. Tom called him a turd. I'm sorry about that, captains. The officer glared at him and started writing another ticket for having worn tires. So Tom's wife called him a poop head. He finished this is religion, so I have to keep it clean. He finished the second ticket and he put it on the windshield with the first ticket. Then he started writing the third ticket. This went on and on for about 20 minutes. The more they antagonized him, this police officer, the more they wrote a ticket. Personally, they really didn't care because they came into town by bus anyway. They just happened to know that it was Warren Shaw's car. So they try to have a little fun every now and then because they're both retired. But Tom, you always whip this crowd into a frenzy, Mr. Excitement. Thank you very much. But at this time, and Karen, I'll get you next year if I happen to be here. So Karen Pulio is the advisory board chairperson. Please come forward. Thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause.
So obviously I'm going to start with, I'm very grateful that Rita did not know that I was going to be speaking instead of Tom. And can we all do a round of applause for Rita, please? She does such a great job for us. And welcome all to the 27th Annual Christmas Castle Breakfast. It's great to look out and just see a full room. This is so exciting for us. It is a kickoff of the Christmas season when we move forward and we continue to do the most good. This morning would not be possible if it were not for Linda Clark, who, if I could ask Linda and Krista Zay to stand, they have done a beautiful job behind the scenes to make this a success. Thank you. Krista, thank you. I consider myself very lucky to serve as the current chair of the Greater Lowell Advisory Board. I work with a wonderful group of people who are dedicated to ensuring that the mission of the Salvation Army is met. Scattered around this room today are those members and the members of the Court Council. If I could ask them to all stand and also be offered our applause for all that you do all year. If I could ask you to stand. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then I would like to personally thank all of you for taking the time this morning out of your busy week to come and be here for a couple of hours and enjoy the breakfast and the Christmas Castle. I especially want to thank our honorary chair, Michael Kunzler, for taking his title so very, very seriously this year. I think almost daily I was getting a text or a call or an email that said, Mike needs another table. I mean, so this entire group, as we go a big circle, are Mike Kunzler table. So again, Mike, thank you very much for all you do. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not thank especially all of our sponsors. You are all out here, and year after year, you support us and allow us to do the programs we do. And I do want to thank especially a very special thank you to our platinum sponsors, who are Trinity EMS and Circle Health. Thank you also. The Salvation Army could not do what we do, which is help the less fortunate, without the support of people like you. People who donate their time and their resources to help our neighbors in need. What I love about serving on the Salvation Army is their mission. Think of their simple vision statements that drive their actions. Dedicated to doing the most good. Or transforming communities, one life at a time. Or my personal favorite, the Salvation Army exists to meet human need without discrimination. Doing the most good, transforming communities, meeting human need. That's what you do by supporting the Christmas Castle, by dropping $1 in the kettle, and just by offering us your resources every year. Thank you very much for all of you do. You have our heartfelt thank you. And of course then what we have coming up is the WCAP Radiothon. So while I'm sure you've all heard about the Radiothon, I would like to invite up Warren Shaw, host of the Saturday Morning Live, to talk about the Radiothon, which this year is held on Saturday, December 14th. And if he happens to say anything about me, bold-faced lie.
This is cheap stuff. I'm going to take this with me when I leave, Rita. What are you going to do then? So, no, I mean, Karen, I wouldn't. And until a few minutes ago, I didn't know anything I could say about her because she's, you know, pretty respectful. So I said to her, what would I say about you? Because she remembered me having fun with Tommy last year. And she said, I don't know, my kids say, I'm where fun goes to die. I mean, I've known Karen for a long time. Actually, Karen used to be one of Draycott's residents. You know, all the good emanates from Draycott, right, Tim? Well, you know that. You're a Draycott guy. So yes, Karen's done a fabulous job. Everywhere she's been a Tingsboro school board member, a Tingsboro selectman. She's tried to change the form of government out there. She's been a real community leader, and we are fortunate to have her here at the Salvation Army. We're also very fortunate to have my friend Tom Bommel, by the way, who did call me a poop head one time. I don't know if that happened, but it happens. Mike Kunzler, I just have to tell you how the inner workings, the Radiothon is a very successful event, and we're grateful to be able to be part of it. It's successful because we have a radio station. It's successful because we have a large number of very generous, thoughtful people that what we call our community. Mike is at the top of that list. And I will tell you that we've raised over $200,000 the last 2 years. And Mike has been responsible for, I think, $70,000 of that. Now just think of that, $70,000. And, you know, it's like the governor said, and I'm kind of mad at the governor because he told me last year he'd be here for this. But you know, Mike doesn't like this kind of honor. He's one of those people that is more than happy to do what he can for somebody that needs it, and you're never going to hear about it again. And that's an unusual person. So we're glad to call him a friend. He's a fantastic member of our community. He's done a phenomenal job with Four Oaks up there on the backside of Marsh Hill. That development was failing until it met Mike Kunzler, and Mike Kunzler has turned it into something super. So everywhere he goes, success follows. There's no question about it. In terms of the Radiothon, we got it kicked off last week with the Driven to Give program down at Jarvis, a fantastic community partner that we work with, and we were able to exceed the goal there. So there's only so much money you can take out of one of those programs. I think it's $8,000 or $9,000, and we went right by that. And then my pal Peter Jarvis had reached out and gotten some baseball tickets. It wasn't baseball; it was hockey and Celtics tickets, and we sold those too. So, you know, we got it started off with maybe $10,000 or $12,000, and the money continues to come in. I was walking through this crowd earlier, and I walked by Jimmy Moriarty, who's here someplace, and he hands me a check, and I thought, well, the energy between what Mike Kunzler is able to generate and the generosity of Jimmy Moriarty this morning tells me that what I should do is get up here and say, you know, there's a couple of hundred people here, right? So if all of you give us a check for $1,000 on your way out the door, that'll be the amount we need for the Radiothon. We won't have to work as hard. What do you think? He likes it. I knew he'd approve. So at any rate, we are going to work hard. We're going to need everybody's help for the Radiothon. That's the way that thing works. If everybody's not on board, everybody in Lowell and Drake and Tingsboro and Chelmsford, if everybody's not on board, it doesn't work. And so I have every hope that it will be successful again. We will have, now you know where the radio station is now. It's on Market Street. It's no longer in that horrible place on Central Street. Sorry, Sam. Well, anybody ever go up there? A flight of stairs that went like that. And there were people that were refusing to go to the Radiothon because they couldn't get up the stairs. But now, it's an absolutely gorgeous studio right on Market Street. You'll be able to walk right in and participate in the Radiothon. And down the street, Paul Belay, who I call my entertainment director, he is going to be running his events down at the Blue Shamrock this year, which is just a short walk down, and so it all, you know, worked very well. And we'll be out there asking for all of the donations that we always ask for, but we're fortunate in that we're able to raise $200,000 and hand it to the Salvation Army, and they have an inspiring group of programs that they fund with it. Nobody takes any salary out of it. This is all, you know, going to people who need it, going to families who need it, and that's the big part of this, is that this goes to families who, you know, are having difficult times as it relates to housing and, you know, heat assistance, food assistance, all those kind of things that we all want to get behind. That's where the money goes. So whatever you can do for us, please get involved. And Mike Kunzler, thank you for everything you do. You're a great guy.
Thank you, Warren. Don't hurt yourself. That's okay. It's all right. I can't believe this guy. I didn't know that you were going to introduce him, but I still have the microphone now. So people do not know this about Warren, but I know the story. A fellow farmer from a bordering New Hampshire and Warren Shaw, they're talking about how big their farm is. Well, my farm is a little over 200 acres, says Farmer Shaw. And the man from New Hampshire says, my farm is even bigger than that. I can get in my truck on one end, and it'll take me 3 days to reach the other end. Huh, says Warren. I had a truck like that once. Should I say it again? No, that's okay. That's all right. It's okay. But anyway, yeah, Well, he was talking about WCAP and the stairs that you had to walk. I understand that, because when I got up to the top, I started to see the light. And I could see all visions of my dead relatives all before me. So I'm glad that they moved, because I couldn't almost take it anymore. Thanks, Sam. But anyway, so at this time, I also just saw a vision. I don't know, he's not there now by the door, but I saw former chancellor and president of everything that you can imagine, Marty Meehan. There you are, Marty. I know, you were out having breakfast. I know, you heard, but I saw you. Thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce, and I don't have any skits for you, darling, and your husband, Captain and Captain, because they're close to God, and I don't mess around with that. So I'd like to introduce at this time Captains Timothy and Nicole Ross. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to this 27th breakfast, and certainly we thank Mike for your great support of the Salvation Army over the years, and what an honor to honor you this day. On your seats, or when you came in today, these programs has a lot of information in about the Salvation Army and about the work that we do, but I just want to take one moment to thank some very special people who help us at this time of the year. First of all, the Manolis family, we thank you for your generous support of the Salvation Army. Certainly, with our Thanksgiving baskets, we thank you for your help. Thank you to the Lowell Sun and Sun Santa. We couldn't do it without the Sun Santa. We thank you, Terry, and all that you've done. And we thank WCAP for broadcasting, Sam, for all that you do for the Salvation Army, for Teddy and Warren, and for the Radiothon coming up. Thank you for your generosity. And we thank LTC for broadcasting today, and Wood Brothers Flowers for generous flowers that they donated today on the table. So thank you to each of them. Today does kick off the official Christmas season for the Salvation Army. And really, but truth be told, we have been well into the Christmas season way before today. This past week, we saw hundreds of families come into our facility, and our staff and volunteers assisted each of those families in taking their information for our Christmas for our Christmas assistance, which is happening in a few weeks. Today, I have staff that are picking up boxes of food from the McCarthy Middle School that will be sorted canned goods and will be ready to be packed and ready to go. And so we are well into the season, and soon, next week, thanks to the generosity of Market Basket, these wonderful things will be going out. Some they're annoying, but the bell will be ringing beginning next week. And really it is about change. Not just the change and the money that goes into into those kettles. And the great news is this year they'll have Apple Pay and Google Pay to be taken at each of the stands. But really it is about the change that you put in. And really, it reminds me of this, that your change truly changes things. Your change truly changes things. It's not just the money that goes in and the donations that take place, but it's really about the lives that are changed, one person, one family at a time. And to tell that story, my wife is going to come and just share the Salvation Army story to help get a little picture of what true change really is. So thank you for your generosity.
Walking away with my notes. I don't know. Has a lot of faith and confidence in me, I guess. But yes, I get the fun part. I get the part of the program to tell you what everybody always asks. What does the Salvation Army do? And really, what's your story? Tim and I have a wonderful honor and privilege to be the administrators and pastors at the Lowell Salvation Army. What we get to do there every day, it's humbling, it's inspiring, it's challenging, it's all of those things. But we do know that God has specifically raised up the Salvation Army exactly where we are to do his work, right? To do good, to fight for God and fight for good. And so to tell the Salvation Army story, what a challenge that is. Sometimes I want to tell it through the eyes of history, right? Through the eyes of history, and inspire all with the tales and the valor of our founder, William Booth. his mission, his vision, and passion to serve the whosoever simply because God told him that suffering humanity needed to be served. And then suffering humanity needed to be told that God loves them and that the Salvation Army would be there in their times of need. That story is enough to move us all to action, I think. But sometimes I also want to tell the Salvation Army story through my personal lens. Who knew that one day after school, as I got on that big old Salvation Army bus with that big shield plastered on the side of it to attend an after-school program, that I would one day discover that I too could make a difference, one life at a time, just as that difference was being made for me as I attended those various programs at the Salvation Army in Lynn. Sometimes I want to tell the story through the lens of our donors, many of you in the room, but many families as well. The family that has supported the Salvation Army for generations, because one Christmas, as the story goes, a Salvation Army officer showed up at their apartment, knocked on their door, Christmas tree toted, food and a big old bag of toys for that family for that Christmas. The memory of that Christmas continues to be shared and passed on from generation to generation. Thus, the support continues. Sometimes I want to tell the Salvation Army through the eyes of the addict, through the eyes of a person down and out, lost, sad, struggling, certainly didn't imagine themselves where they're at that point. Their eyes always tell the story. I see someone's child when I look into their eyes. A son, a daughter, someone's mother, someone's father, certainly lost, certainly broken, but still human, searching. There's a place for you at the Salvation Army. I also want to tell the Salvation Army story, and I believe it's being told as those in nursing homes and rehabilitation centers are visited by our folks. A young face, wide smile, gentle touch connects them once again with the world hurrying by them. The small gift we leave reminds them that not only is someone thinking, but someone is praying for them. They're not forgotten. I also want to tell the story, the Salvation Army story, through the eyes of the children we get to teach. What a privilege, what a gift that is. That we get to feed, that we get to play games with, that we get to help with homework and give rides home to, and simply just participate in their lives. Or the teen that steps foot into our building because they have found themselves at a crossroads, and a program called Bridging the Gap is the better option than a juvenile record. For a mistake, for a lapse in judgment, for one moment. That's the story I want to tell. That life is full of options. How about the volunteer that is faithful to the food pantry and serving those who come? Or the senior that finds a hot meal, a cup of coffee, a game of cards, a couple days a week, just enough to fill the loneliness and remind them that they certainly are not forgotten as well. I want to tell the Salvation Army story through the eyes of our soldiers, men and women, children and teenagers who call the Salvation Army their church, accept its doctrine, but also its mission, certainly move to action in mind and soul and body. Can I tell you the Salvation Army story through the eyes of one of our advisory board members, many who you know, who are already busy, pulled in millions of different directions, shows up to discuss budgets, test drive cars, arrange centerpieces so vital funds can be raised, who have brainstormed for hours strategic plans and services and programs. I want to tell you the Salvation Army story through the work of our faithful bell ringers, right? So many that come back year after year. Many of you are out there, braving the weather to ring the bell, inviting people who pass to just participate for a moment in the Salvation Army story. The Salvation Army story was told as hundreds of people, as my husband mentioned, as hundreds of people piled into our building seeking holiday assistance this past week. Food and toys that will make the burden just that much lighter. Volunteers who sat for hours collecting children's sizes and toy wishes, and at the end of it all, looking up and saying, man, I wish I could do this every day. The Salvation Army story is told through our employees, our team, our front line, our friends who have dedicated their lives to human services, certainly not for the glory or the retirement package, but because it can't always be about us. Sometimes it has to be about the story, the bigger human story, that the let's leave this world a better place than we found it story. Commitment, support, civic action, as evidenced today, social justice on behalf of those oppressed. And sometimes even a sacrificed morning, right, like this, to support and make a difference. The Salvation Army has served in this great city of Lowell and its surrounding communities for 135 years. By the grace of God and your continued support, we stand to serve for the next 135 years. For your children's children and their children's children, we will continue to tell the Salvation Army story. And we do, once again, thank all of you for helping us to do this every day. We pray the Lord's richest blessing on you, your families, the things that you support, your organizations. We thank you for being here today. And remember, your change truly does change things. God bless you. Thank you once again for being here.
All right, we're going to get on to some real humor. That was very beautiful, but we want to cheer everybody up. I almost cried, but anyway, that's okay. But before, I would like to pay, oh, I already did that too, see. You know, it's tough. I'm the new and improved, but I kind of wonder now. So we're going to get right on it. We're going to start with our retired officer, and I don't want to leave anybody out. Oh, is this a gratuitous plug? Is this a gratuitous plug? That's a hard word to say. Jack Dolan is a retired Lowell police sergeant, and he told me this morning what happened to him yesterday on his way to the Four Oaks golf course. Coming all the way back from his real estate job in Newburyport, he was complaining about a woman driver and how he looked to his left, and there was a woman in a brand new Cadillac doing 65 miles an hour with her face up to her rearview mirror, putting on her eyeliner. Jack said, I looked away for a couple of seconds, and when I looked back, she was halfway over in my lane, still working on that makeup. I'm glad that you're all right. As a man, I don't scare easily, he said, but she scared me so much, I dropped my shaver, which knocked the donut out of my other hand. And all this confusion of trying to straighten out the car, using my knees against the steering wheel, it knocked my cell phone away from my ear, which fell into the coffee between my legs, burnt my jewels, and soaked my pants. Those darn woman drivers. Please join me now and please welcome retired Lowell Police Sergeant Jack Dolan. There you go, darling.
Well, thank you, Rita, for those kind words. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here today. I'm representing Mike Kunzler, and I'm honored to be here amongst Salvation Army people who do such great work. So Mike and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Lowell, probably 4 or 5 streets over. But he was a little bit older than me, maybe about 10 years older, as you can see. So it's hard to get along with someone that's 10 years difference in most cases. Just as Cindy, it's twice as hard for her. Mike's 20 years older than her. Did Mike ever tell you how he met Cindy? Of course he didn't. But Cindy would tell you. Mike and Billy Finn work in the cruiser. They pull up at Dunkin' Donuts on Middlesex Street in the Highlands. They get out to get their normal dozen of donuts to snack between calls. And there she is, Cindy, selling Girl Scout cookies. So right next to the girl selling Girl Scout cookies is overzealous soccer mom in a van pulling a U-Haul full of Girl Scout cookies. Mike being Mike and Billy being Billy, they want to impress Cindy. So Mike goes over and makes a deal with the lady and buys all the cookies, 50 cents a box. He tells Billy to run up to his house, get the landscaping truck, He puts half the cookies in the landscaping truck, and he calls the wagon, puts the other half of the cookies. He brings the cookies in the wagon to the station, sells the cookies for $1 to all the cops. Billy does all the work, and Mike gets 75 cents of the money because it's his idea. The other half of the cookies goes to the landscaping truck over to Mike's house, where he stores them. If you know Mike, whenever he buys something, he buys a lot of it. He always saves half. That's the type of guy he is. So, if Mike brings Girl Scout cookies to your house, don't eat them. Guaranteed. So, I'd like to tell a little story about Mike Kunzler, and it starts off talking about me, but that's not my intention. It's just how the story leads. I became police officer in 1993. For the first 10 years, I worked the night shift. And various times during my career, like most police officers, I was slapped, punched, kicked, shot at. But my career kind of came to almost a stop. 1994, I went to a call on Middlesex Street for a guy chasing someone around with a knife. In an effort to disarm him, I was bitten in the arm. Took a chunk out of my arm. As a result, I spent 7 days in the hospital. And the second day I was in there, the doctor came to me and said, good news and bad news. What's the good news? Good news is you're going to be okay. Your heel's going to wound. Your wound's going to heal. And you're going to live. So what's the bad news? It says the guy that bit you is an intravenous drug user, and he used it, and he didn't look too good. And this is right when AIDS come out. It's a good chance he has AIDS. I'm like, great. So what do I do now? He says, well, every 6 weeks, once a week for 6 weeks, we're going to test you, see if you're HIV positive. If you're not, after these 6 weeks, you're good to go. Long story short, I was in the hospital. I thought a lot about being a cop and what you have to go through. And I said, this is not for me to go through these type of ordeals. So Chief Davis came to see me, and I kind of told him, I said, after this, I think I'm all done. It's just not worth it to me, you know? So I get home, long story short, enter Mike comes into my life. Mike shows up and says, Jack, you really don't want to retire. It's a good job, plus I got a good deal for you. Mike always has good deals for you. He says, I talked Chief Davis into starting a DARE program in the city of Lowell, and I'll talk him into making you a DARE officer as well as me. So I says, okay, that sounds good. But I'm not sure. I want to stay. Mike says, listen, it's going to be great. We're going to have fun. No more long hours working details. No more working nights. No more working weekends. So it started to appeal to me. He's good at that. He talks you into stuff, you know. So I said yes. And then, as the years progressed, the weekends off, the nights off, the fun started to diminish a little bit. Because Mike, knowing Mike, starts all kinds of programs. Keeps us busy. So he starts DARE flag football on Sundays, DARE wrestling on Saturdays, girls DARE basketball Tuesday and Thursday night, Wednesday night DARE bowling. So it's on and on and on. So my wife says to me one day, sit down, I want to talk to you. And you know when your wife says that, you're in trouble. She says, you're busier now than you were when you were a street cop. This has got to end. This has got to stop. You have to learn how to say no to Mike Kunzler. He gets you involved in too much stuff, which is pretty typical, you know. It happens to a lot of us. Everybody here in this room has gone through it. If Mike invites you for a cup of coffee, for lunch, or for dinner, you show up, there's 5 other people there. So what are you doing here? I don't know, what are you doing here? Mike says, well, I want to invite you all and thank you all for being part of the committee for the ABC charity fund. We look around, we're like, Kunzler got us again. It goes on and on and on. It happens for a long time. We get involved in many good charitable organizations, you know. So, let's see. What good is this is Rita. So, it goes on. My wife says to me, don't say anything to Mike Kunzler. Do not volunteer for anything. So, I go in the next day to work and I say to myself, whatever Mike asks me to do, I'm going to say no. About a week goes by. He's like, I got some good news, Jack. I said, what's that? I'm going to be head coach of the Lowell Wrestling program. I'm like, great. To me, it's like, oh my God, he's going to be so busy now. He's going to leave me alone. I got a big smile on my face. It went away real quick when he said, and you're going to be the freshman coach. I'm like, Mike, absolutely not. Mike, forget about it. Oh, it's going to be great. You're going to have weekends off. You're going to have more time with your family. You're not going to work any nights. I'm like, absolutely not. He said, well, listen, you got to try it. Just try it, and if you don't like it, you don't think it's for you, I'm going to give you 2 weeks. Just do it for 2 weeks. All I'm asking. If you don't like it in 2 weeks, just come to me, and I won't ask you anything more, and I'll leave you alone. Then he throws down this book puts this book in my face, like how to teach kids how to join wrestling. Throws it on the table, walks away. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? Hope you don't think I said yes to this. I go home, I tell my wife, Karen. She says, oh my God, that's ridiculous. So I slept on the couch for the next week. I was able to read the book. So I'm reading the book. I get to about the 4th chapter. It says all the ways to get kids to wrestle for you. Number one thing to say, all that I am asking you is that you give it a try. Give it a chance to see if you like it. Just give it 2 weeks. It's a true story. After 2 weeks, if you decide it's not for you, I'll accept that and not bother you again. I'm like, son of a... Jeez. Crazy. So I said, I got to do something about this. This is getting ridiculous. So I said, I'm going to I'm going to study for the sergeant's exam, take it, pass it, become a sergeant, and then I'm going to get promoted. Chief Davis is going to have to take me out of DARE program, put me back in the street where I'll be safe. I'm Mike Kunzler. And it works. We're right in the middle of the DARE camp at the time. And I tell Mike about it. He's all excited for me. I start the early night shift in about a week or so. And I'm all excited. Mike says, that's great, Jack. You know what I'm doing? I said, what? I'm resigning. I'm starting a T-shirt business. I'm like, it's great. Good for you. And you're going to be my top salesman. I'm like, oh, whoa. That ain't going to happen, Mikey. He says, what do I know about sales? He says, Dolan, you're a born salesman. I says, whatever. So now I go home and say, I got to go in tomorrow. I'm telling him I'm not going to be a salesman for your T-shirt business. It's just not going to happen, you know? So I go in. Before I go there, I go down to City Hall. I see Rita. Rita helps me out. We go over to the birth certificate department. I get my birth certificate. I walk in. I show it to Mike. I says, Mike, I'm not being a salesman. It's right here. It says right here. Mother nurse, father electrician. Nowhere does it say Jack Dolan salesman. But 25 years later, I'm still selling for Mike. It's hard to say no to Mike, as we all know. Charlie Baker and Chief Davis talked about Mike raising $5 million. Probably $2.5 million here is from people from this room. So we've had enough. It's time for all of us to say no to Mike Kunzler. So you take out your little gift that was given out. So these were given out. Some people have them on the table, some don't. So when you're in your place of business, or in your office, wherever you are, you go to a restaurant, and you know you're meeting Mike, you bring this. When Mike walks in the room, before he says anything, the chance to ask you anything about donations or money or volunteering, say, no! When Mike Kunzler dials your phone, you look, it says Mike Kunzler, hit the button before he says anything, you go, no! So all kidding aside, I've never regretted saying no to Mike. All the endeavors that he's got me involved in have been worthwhile. I appreciate his friendship, and hopefully you have many times to come.
So anyway, Jack, if you don't take your what's-this, I'm gonna be doing your skit all over again. That's okay. So now, did you know, our next roastee, that golf is Blake's true profession? Football was just to pay the green fees. Blake named his dog 6 Miles. I know that is strange, but he told me this. He named his dog 6 Miles so he can tell people that he walks 6 miles every day. Blake was at Mike's restaurant bar last Saturday night. He had a few. I know that because I was there. He noticed 2 quite large women by the bar, and they both had strong accents, so he asks, "Hey, are you 2 ladies from Scotland?" One of them chirped, "It's Wales, you dope." So Blake immediately apologized and said, "Sorry, are you 2 whales from Scotland?" That's the last thing that he remembers. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Lowell's most famous linebacker for the New York Jets, Lowell's own football star. Let me hear it for John Blake Galvin Jr. Woohoo!
Thank you, Rita. Make sure I get this up high enough.
Warren wrote that.
Yes, I think he may have. I think anybody who knows Jack, by the way, great job. I think anybody who knows Jack knows the only person that hits you up for more fundraisers and tickets than Mike Kunzler is Jack Dolan. All right, so you know, this is beautiful. This is one of you know, as Mike, as Jack alluded to, Mike got us again, right? So Mike asked me to participate in this. He said it's a small little thing, don't worry about it. You know, he's like, I just want you to come up and tell a story or two. So that's what I'm here to do. I do have a funny story, and I'll end with that, but I'm going to lead with something that's serious. So it just talks about Mike and some of the things he's done for this community. And so going back, it's about 20 years now, the high school head football coach was Scott Boyle. And Scott was talking to us one day and telling us how some of the kids that he was a physical ed teacher that he was around, said they couldn't participate in the Pop Warner program because they didn't have the money to pay the initiation fees. So he's like, you know, it would be great if we could start a program, and we did. We started the Lowell Junior High football program that still exists today. Very proud of that. Got some of the former folks that helped get that going. But one of the biggest challenges we had was equipment. You know, obviously tackle football is a lot different than flag football, right? So there's a lot of need for expensive equipment. And to make a long story short, we raised, you know, we came to Mike and said, Mike, here's the deal. You know, we've got about 100 kids out for the program. We need shoulder pads, we need helmets, you know, we need thigh pad, everything that's required for that. Mike bought all the equipment for us for no, you know, at the time we had no money. Bought all the equipment for us. It was probably close to $50,000, and I think he carried that note for a good year before we could pay back. So unbelievable. And again, that program today, that program's available to the kids in this city, and there's no initiation fee, right? Now it's a little disheartening when you see the kid show up with his iPhone and his brand new sneakers and he's not paying anything to be in the program, but that's how it goes. Anyways, so here's the funny story, and this is a true story. And I woke up this morning and I was giggling, and my wife's like, what are you laughing about? And I'm like, I don't know, this story is so old, but it's one of the classic stories, and it makes me laugh every time I think about it. So as everybody knows, Mike, the businessman, the fundraiser, Obviously, Mike started his professional career as a police officer, and then decided, you know what, that's not enough, right? I gotta get out there. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm gonna start a business. So he starts a landscaping company. So he and his partner at the time, I'd rather not say his partner's name, but he and one of his fellow police officers started a landscaping company. So I just happened to be with him that day. He picked me up. He's like, hey, we're going over to Billy's house. I'm trying to get this thing going. Now, his landscaping company consisted of one truck, and I think he had 2 wrestlers that worked for you, right? And Mike was coaching at the time. And so we get over to his partner's house, which was their headquarters at the time. And we're sitting there and we're talking, and I forget what we're doing. And next thing you know, the phone rings. And his partner picks up the phone, and it's obviously somebody on the line talking about business. So he's like, you could tell he was kind of nervous, and he's like, geez, yeah, that sounds good. Well, hold on, can I check with my partner? So he covers the phone, and he says, he's like, Mike, he's like, there's a woman on the phone here, and she's asking about, a big job. I don't think we can do it. He's like, give me the phone. Gives him the phone, and we're sitting there, and she explains who she is. Hi, Mike, this is Judy Jones, and I'm from XYZ Property Manager, and we just took over a big contract with the Lowell Boot Mills, and we're in a dilemma. One of the issues we have is we need to remove all the vines on the outsides of the building that's growing up from the canal. She's like, and to be honest with you, we're not having much luck, and just going on, and she's like, do you happen to do vine removal? And Mike, without hesitation, says, ma'am, we specialize in vine removal. She proceeds to say, oh, thank God. She goes on to tell him that there's she's talked to 10 different companies and nobody can do it, and he's like, hold on. Billy, do me a favor, grab me the master schedule. I need the master schedule. I want to see if we can pull a couple of crews out of New Hampshire to help this woman right now. Needless to say, they won that contract, and I think for the better part of the next 10 years, you made a lot of money off of that. But that's the story. Mike's a very unique guy. I think this is a great cause. Obviously, the Salvation Army does a lot of great things for this community, as does Mike Kunzler. So thank you, everybody.
All righty. Thank you so much. Great job, huh? They're doing a great job. Let's hear it again. Great job. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Steve. He has been a practicing attorney since 1991 and operates a strategic consulting and lobbying practice with both offices in the city of Lowell. Steve was elected to the state Senate for 7 terms and served in the Senate as the chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. He also recently took up exercising. He told me he didn't make it to the gym today. He said that makes 5 years in a row now. But he decided to change calling the bathroom the John and renamed it Jim instead. He says he feels so much better saying he went to the gym this morning. Steve talks to himself. Sometimes he feels that he needs expert advice. Everyone needs a doctor, and at one time or another, Steve has a good doctor. When Steve went to him with a bad foot and told the doctor he couldn't walk, the doctor said, "You will be walking before the week is out." The bill was so high he had to sell his car. The doctor was right. Now he is walking. But Steve got back at the doctor. He called Steve and said, "Your check for the office visit came back." And Steve said, "Yes, and so did my arthritis." So let's hear it now for another great sports, the man I thought was Tony Bennett, former state senator Steve
Thank you, Rita. I mean, Tony Bennett, coming from the mini pearl of Lowell, that's pretty good.
I left my hat at home.
I'm going to get you one next year. Jack failed to tell you about his first day with Mike as a salesman. He comes into the office and goes, Mike goes, how'd you do, Jack? Jack goes, two orders. Mike goes, yeah, what were they? Mike's excited, ready to write them down. Jack goes, get out and stay out. So is the life of a salesman. But Mike, as we all heard, he was a police officer, and when he got out of the academy, he was in great shape. But 8 months later, he goes for his first physical post-academy, and goes down to downtown up on a second floor there. Dr. Saba, everybody remember Dr. Saba? Great doctor, great old-fashioned doctor. His sister Rose would work the front of the office, so Rose told Mike, go ahead in, he's waiting for you. So Mike goes in, and there's Dr. Saba. He's got the cigarette going on one side. He's got the old blood pressure mechanism on his wooden one right on his desk, you know. He said, get up, put the cuffs on. Starts pumping it up. He goes, takes out the index card where he kept your medical records. Looks down. Mike, your blood pressure's gone up. Get over here on the scale. It's another drag. Mike gets on the scale. He's doing his thing. He goes, He goes, you've gained 12 pounds. And he looks at Mike and says, so what have you been eating? What's your favorite food groups? And Mike goes, sugar, powdered, glazed, and chocolate covered. And Dr. Saba took another puff and said, get rid of the sugar, the powdered, and the glaze, but keep the chocolate covered. You got to have a little excitement in life. He was a great doctor and great guy. But my role here is more on the serious side, as you can tell. We wanted comedy. We'd have somebody in the room here get up here and give us some good laughs. But this morning we are honoring a man who has given and given and given to our greater Lowell community. Instead of saying no to, I say continue to say yes to Mike Kunzler, because Mike's the only person that I know that people don't try to duck when he comes to asking for donations, and it's for 3 reasons. First, if you've ever been to a Mike Kunzler event, you know you're going to have a great time, and you really do. Second, you're going to be part of a cause that you can be proud of. And third, Mike makes sure that you know that it's just not a donation. It's an investment in kindness and into helping others. There's an old adage that one person with a commitment is equal to 99 who just have an interest. If Mike's involved, you can rest assured that you have at least one person with a commitment. And with Mike, that commitment can be infectious, as we all know. He has literally raised, as you've already heard, millions of dollars for compassionate causes throughout our community. And with his wife, Cindy, who sometimes takes the lead in these efforts, they have helped thousands upon thousands of people. In every community, there's needs to be addressed and hope to be restored. In each of our hearts, there's the sensitivity to recognize it and the capacity to do it. Mike and Cindy have that sensitivity and capacity to be agents of compassion and emissaries of community kindness. And that's why Mike is the perfect honoree for the Salvation Army. He embodies the Army's compassion and commitment for community caring, a mission of faith that has guided the Salvation Army to help millions upon millions in need every year across this country and, quite frankly, across the world. They have international chapters all over the world. You know, for every highly publicized catastrophe or disaster or tragedy, there are hundreds and hundreds of less publicized ones. They have the same first responders rushing to the scene. Our police, our fire, our EMTs, rushing in to stop the menace, to secure the area, to treat the victims. And they do an unbelievable job of saving and protecting lives. But once the situation has been controlled or is passed, the area secured, the victims treated, once the first responders are done, then the first providers take over. And one of them for over 140 years in this country has been the Salvation Army. Right there on site, as the fire trucks and cruisers and ambulances leave, and the police barricades and sandbags and yellow tape are taken down, there stands the Salvation Army to fill the breach, to help the victims put back the shattered pieces of their lives. First, by providing for the immediate needs of food, clothing, and shelter, and then by providing the longer-term help of permanent housing, employment service, and rehabilitation. I remember a few years back, I think all of us can remember when we had the flood over in Pawtuckaville. One of my friends, whose house was totaled, told me it took the federal government many, many months to bring any tangible help. The Salvation Army, it took only a few hours. First providers, in for the short term, in for the long term, in with everything they have for those in need. That's why it's so important for us to support our local chapter of the Salvation Army. And when I think of the Salvation Army, it means to people, I'm reminded of another story I remember from another army, the U.S. Army, immediately after World War II. As you know, Europe was squalling through the aftermath of its devastation of property and life that only total war could bring. One of the realities was a large number of orphans who were left homeless, penniless, and wasting from hunger. As the story goes, an American soldier on patrol came through one of these towns. He spotted a young boy staring in a bakery shop doorway. The soldier could see the boy's withered frame and disheveled look. And as he approached the boy looked up at him. And the soldier saw that look of want and need and hunger in the boy's eyes. The soldier was so moved that he asked the boy if he would like something to eat. The boy said yes. So the soldier went into the bakery, purchased some pastries. When he came out, he offered the bag of pastries to the boy, whose hands reached out to grab the bag, but whose eyes never left the soldier's, just stared at him with a look of amazement. After a few seconds, the soldier turned to leave, but he felt a tug on his coat. As he turned, the boy, still staring at him, said, "Mister, are you God?" Remember, for every cup of coffee you give a person in distress, for every blanket to warm a person who is left homeless, for every word of compassion, hug of support, for every Christmas present under a tree that wouldn't have been there but for you. Remember the boy's question, "Mister, are you God?" But even more importantly, remember the soldier's answer. "No, son, just the hands of God." The hands of God, that's the Salvation Army and all of us who support it. And all of us who, like Mike and Cindy Kunzler, as the saying goes, reach out into the darkness to pull other people into the light. I really want to thank all of you for coming down here today. We have a wonderful honoree, and he helps us so much with the Radiothon and everything. There's so many, really, when you say he's raised millions for this, he really has, and it's a lot of us in the room. But you know what? It's going to continue. So take those no ones and throw them out, and we're going to get the big Y's for yes. Mike, thanks for everything.
That was so beautiful. You should have gave me that. I would have loved that. That would have been what I would have loved to say. I mean, I want to keep this. The next time I speak somewhere else, I'll use that. Thank you so much. Now, Michael, don't hold me to any of this, right? You're still going to make my signs, though, weren't you? Okay. Michael and his wife, Cindy, run their restaurant, Grazi's in Dracut, and they often name their specials after their employees. Dishes like Chicken Mickey after their dishwasher who gave them the recipe, and Rod's Ribs after their waiter who had his personal style of barbecue. One evening, after rereading the menu, Mike had to break with tradition and change the description of one of the specials they named after their chef. Despite her skills and excellent reputation, somehow Mike didn't think an entree named Salmon Ella would go over big with their customers. You know, salmonella. Okay. Oh, by the way, Mike is giving away free Red Raiders track shirts from all sports promotion. None of them will be autographed by Superintendent Boyd. Cindy realizes behind every successful man is a surprised woman. Now let's talk about the star of the show. He is a role model to all. He was a great cop. He is a great businessman. He is handsome. But enough about Joe Espinola. Let's talk about Mike Kunzler. Thank you for being such a great sport, and you still will do my signs. Ladies and gentlemen, our honored guest, Michael Kunzler.
Thank you, Rita. Want to thank everyone. I do have a few words to say before we bring up our star, Lenny Clark, my dear friend, who's going to share some humor with us as well. I'm joined here by so many friends today, and I'm honored for you to come out. I'm also happy to have my sister Judy and my brother Charlie here with me today. Thank you guys for coming. My dad is here with his wife Marianne, and I would like my dad to stand up. Charlie Kunstler. My dad just retired a couple of weeks ago. He was working full-time up until a couple of weeks ago, 87 years old. And more importantly, he was recently flown down to Washington, D.C., where he was given honors for his 26 years and his many tours in the Korean War. So I think you would all agree there's a reason they called it the greatest generation. I am also honored to have my wife Cindy here with me today. And my three children, Nicole, Cody, and Michael. They have made so many sacrifices in order for me to be able to do the things that I do, and I hope that they feel that it's all been worth it for all of us. I would like to say that many people really don't realize everything that my wife does. When we were taking over the golf course a few years back, and there was so much to do there. So many people give me credit. The truth of the matter is it was my wife that saved the golf course. She worked around the clock. Nobody really realizes it, but it was her. She designed the entire new restaurant, and she basically was the manager on duty 7 nights a week, in addition to going there every morning. So I just want to point that out. I'd like my wife to stand up and be acknowledged. I'm also joined by many of my managers at All Sports, as well as Four Oaks Country Club, and it means a lot to have you all here. I don't know who's taking care of things today because my wife and I have always had an agreement. In addition to my wife, I have 3 work wives, and they're all here today, Erin, Kendra, and Nancy. So thank you guys for all you do, as well as the managers that are here today, Rick, Scott, Mary, Tony. I know I'm going to miss people, but Benny the chef. If you've been to Grazie, you know the food. Benny the chef. I want to thank Tommy Golden for his kind words to open this up. I want to thank the 3 roasters, in addition to the entire organization. Steve Pangiatakis, a dear friend for many, many years. It took a while for Steve to catch on, but in the early 80s, Steve and I were both 2 dark, handsome Greek men. And, and we were both bartenders. And Steve was the bartender at JJ's Pub, and I was the bartender at the Cell Block Lounge for Tommy Machado. And what I would do towards the end of the night is I would pick the drunkest, most obnoxious customer in there and offer to buy him a drink under one condition. Take my money, go across the street and see Steve the bartender. I want to thank Blake Galvin. One thing I've always said about Blake is that he's loyal to a fault. You'll find nobody more loyal, and he takes that same mentality that got him into the NFL, and he treats everyday work that way. He's an incredible friend, and in addition to that, he has been a mentor to my children, which, you know, when you do something for somebody's kids, there's no more that they can do for you, so thank you, Blake. Known Jack for over 30 years. There has been nobody more loyal to me and my family than Jack Dolan. And as much as he says, say no to Kunstler, Jack Dolan has never said no to me. He's never said no to me. And trust me, he never will. There's an old saying that goes like this: if you want to touch the past, touch a rock. If you want to touch the present, touch a flower. And if you want to touch the future, touch a life. You know, there is no better organization or mission over the past 140 years that has touched and changed the lives of individuals in this country for the better. No better than the Salvation Army. And in so doing, they have touched the future of the lives that they have helped by making their burdens lighter and their reality brighter. The Salvation Army has over 8,000 chapters across this country with over 3 million volunteers. They reach over 30 million people a year. And they do it through their homeless and family shelters, alcohol and drug rehab programs, emergency and disaster assistance, thrift stores, necessity assistance, and other services, including what they're most known for and why we're here this morning, the Christmas program. Let me share a Christmas story that I came across about a family who had always been part of the local Salvation Army drive and never walked by a red kettle without making a donation. But when the father's company unexpectedly closed, money became very tight. In fact, they weren't even making enough money to cover their own necessities. With the mother trying to finish her last year in nursing school, the family's prospects for traditional Christmas was growing dim. Even though they had helped brighten Christmas for others, they now felt helpless to change their own Christmas reality. The mother really didn't know what to do. She was about to resign herself to a Christmas that never would be. She started rationalizing. 1 year off from all the running around, all the preparations, all the decorations, all the spending. 1 year off. Would it really matter? Would it make a difference? But while she was going to class that day, she passed a red kettle. And she instinctively reached down into her coat pocket to make a donation. She realized she had just enough money to take the bus home. So she turned away, dejected and ashamed. Part of her family's Christmas was always trying to help others with their own Christmas, but not this year. They weren't even going to have a Christmas. Then she thought of the disappointment in her children's faces, and that missing year in the Christmas album, and the lost Christmas opportunity that would be gone forever. Then, as she was walking away, she heard the bell. And a thought hit her. Maybe, just maybe, the same organization that had helped over the years could now help them. She was still hesitant, but the thought of her family without a Christmas had now taken over. The next day, she went into the local Salvation Army office to apply for support. She told the Salvation Army worker that she felt a little embarrassed, a little weak. The older woman reached over and grabbed her by the hand and said, "You're not weak. Every once in a while, we all need a shoulder to cry on or a hand to help us up." She finished the application, and right before Christmas that year, the Salvation Army gave them food for a wonderful Christmas dinner and presents for their children. And guess what? There wouldn't be a missing Christmas in their photo album after all. In fact, there would now be a very, very special Christmas in their album, because they learned a lesson, a new lesson in life. Sometimes you help, and sometimes you're helped. But the nice thing about the Salvation Army is it doesn't matter, because after all, we're all part of the same community. And now when the mother recounts that Christmas that almost wasn't, she always concludes with this about the Salvation Army. She always says, "They gave us Christmas." This morning, you are helping the Salvation Army give a Christmas to hundreds upon hundreds of friends and neighbors. Now, isn't that something worth being a part of? Thank you all for coming, and may God bless you all.
You want to say it? Well, anyway, it gives me great honor to present someone that I mentored and taught him all about how humor is delivered. And anyway, no, that's not true. But anyway, I'd like to introduce Lenny Clark.
Oh my God, you're wonderful. Hey, really, let Rita
your
know.
jacket.
I love you,
I wanna
Rita.
wear this to the city council.
I love you. Isn't she terrific, Rita? Let her know how great she is, and you and the captains and all you guys. Oh my God, Kunstler, how much money you raise? Millions and millions of dollars. You know, Mike Kunstler's the type of guy that will raise $1 million but doesn't want anyone to know about it. I'll donate $20, but I want you to tell 1 million people, you know? And the captains, make yourself generals, just for this Christmas alone. Walk around the epaulets and everything. The Salvation Army, I want to point out, they've never lost a war. Now, some of you people are getting every joke. The rest of you are like dogs watching TV. You're having fun, but you're not sure why. It's all right. I would have been a genius if it wasn't for all the lead paint I ate as a baby. But my mother would put me by the windowsill and say, chew, boy, chew. Watch the squirrels. Oh, how I wanted to be a squirrel. Yeah. I was talking with Blake. He said to me today, Lenny, do you always want to be a comedian? I said, no, Blake, as a young boy, I thought I was going to be big into cockfighting because I was very good at it. Until I found out it involved birds. And I said, oh, no, that's not for me. I don't do sex with animals. What do they call that when you have sex with animals? What's that word? Yeah, tell me more about that. No, we're in Lowell. You could be a farmer. What do I know? You know? I'm so happy. Look, I haven't been around this many English-speaking people in years. When they first asked me to do this, I said, I don't speak Spanish. She said, no, it's not Lawrence, it's Lowell. I said, okay. Too much? Okay, I don't care. I try to be happy. I know we all have good days, and we all have bad days. Whenever I have a bad day, I don't take out nice people like you. What I do is I get a bottle of whiskey, twist up a couple of joints, go to a cemetery, walk around smoking and drinking, and say, what the hell, I'm doing better than everybody here. You look upset, sir. You look pissed off. I'm kidding. I don't do drugs. I don't. I did cocaine once for like 9 years, but I only did it so I could learn the metric system. You know. Now, what happens? Yeah, you're not the quickest bunch, but the nicest. You're not, it's all right. Well, I thank my friends down there for letting me sit at the table with them. That was so sweet of you. Yes, you're beautiful. I love women. I do. And you know, something about touching. You can't touch people anymore. Yeah, it's a new thing. This hashtag "Don't touch me." I have my own problem touching myself. But the problem is, I try to be good. You know, I mean, you mentioned the Christmas stories that were wonderful. You know, someone bringing the tree over, and then the nice people who brought give the lady food and Christmas so they could have pictures. It wasn't like that when I was a kid. I remember one Christmas Eve. My father grabbed the shotgun, went up on the roof, fired it off, came down and said, no Christmas, Santa committed suicide. Well, it was a poor family. We were born and brought up in the housing projects. A lot of people call them condominiums now, but you're not going to bullshit me again. And we were, you know, Irish Catholic, you know, 8 kids. We didn't have a TV. So if my parents weren't cooking, they were having sex. But the thing was, you weren't supposed to bother them. And one day I forgot and I went to touch something on the stove. My mother hit me with a cast iron pan. Bang! Knocked me out cold. I woke up, she's standing over me, go, look what you made me do. I said, oh, Ma, I'm sorry I made you do that. As soon as these cartoon animals stop flying around my head, I'll sit down and write you an apology using the Palmer method. Now, there are a few people left, so there may be some Catholics. Are there Catholics in the room tonight? Oh, there's a few. There used to be so many more until everything hit the papers. But, you know, the point, are you a Catholic? No, I'm a Jew. And I can say that because I married a Jew. I was in the tribe. I know your secrets. Don't mess with me. I'll expose you. Now, what happens? Before I go any further, you and Cindy, thank you for everything you do. He does, you know, you do all the work. He gets all the credit. But we all know that. And your beautiful family's here because you two are a beautiful couple. How long have you been married? 30 years in a row? Oh, my God. And they have beautiful kids. That's why beautiful people should have kids. Ugly people, I went up to some ugly people here. They said, hey, you're not going to have any children. You got to think of the kids. And while we're on the subject of kids, You seem like nice people. Do you beat your kids? Got quiet. Well, did your parents beat you? Did they? Yes, they beat the shit out of you. That's why you're all here. Look, I could sum this breakfast up in 2 words. Free breakfast. That's why you're here. Free breakfast. We'll go. Yeah, all right. My parents used to kick the crap out of me. I remember one day I was on the front porch. My father was beating my ass. Cops pulled up and said, hey, use this nightstick. You'll hurt your hand. And as I got older and bigger, my parents couldn't beat me as severely as I deserved. They sent me to Catholic school to have it professionally done. Now, someone said we had nuns here. Do we have nuns? Are there nuns in the room? No. Any nuns in the room? Those of you who don't know what nuns are, how can I explain that? No. Nuns were fat little women who never had sex, so they dressed up like penguins and beat the shit out of kids like me. I went to see that movie, March of the Penguins. I was having flashbacks. Yeah. No, but I love the nuns. You know what I learned from the nuns? How to take a beating from a woman to keep my mouth shut about it. Because if a nun gave you a punch in the eye, blackened your eye, ripped your shirt, you know, that tore your pants, you went home, your parents looked at you, what happened to you? I get hit by a car. Because if you told me you got beat by a nun, what happened then? You got beaten again. That's right. Listen, folks, I want you to have fun, man. You know, I think about it. You know, I think about what's going on right now in life. You know, like, oh, Trump's talking about building this wall against Mexico. And I don't care one way or the other, but if shit goes bad, how are we going to get out? Now, look at the people with you that didn't get that joke, okay? You see what I'm working with. I can't educate and entertain at the same time. You got to meet me halfway, you know. But the last thing Barack Hussein Obama said before he left office was the biggest problem facing us and our immediate future is global warming. Does anyone in the room think that's our problem? The weather? Come on, you're living low, for Christ's sakes. We're about 5 days away from a blizzard. Have you been watching the news? Yeah, look around the room. There's not a lot of tan people in here. Christ, even the Italians look Irish and Lowell. Global warming, global. Well, last year wasn't too bad. We had a couple storms, but then we had 60 days of rain. Do you remember that 60 days of rain? And that's how screwed up we are. We're walking around going, well, at least it's not snow. What? Houses are floating by. Streets are closed because there's too much water. At least it's not snow. Then 2 years ago, we had 2 storms. 1, 2.5 feet of snow. We didn't even acknowledge it. Oh, that's not much. Oh, don't get the shovels out. Just kick it out of the way. That's fine. Honey, where's that thing that scraped the windshield? Drive fast. That shit will blow off. But 3 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, I know you remember, even if you don't, the worst storms in the history of storms. 9 feet in 3 days. Dogs, cats, small children were disappearing. Where's Billy? Where's Billy? Close the door. We'll make another Billy. Close the door. My good God. People were jumping out their 3rd floor windows. Marty Walsh, the mayor of Boston, had to come on TV. Stop jumping out your windows. Everyone opened the windows. Screw you, Marty. It's the only way out of the house. Plow, you bastard. Plow. Because we don't plow in Massachusetts. No, we're so liberal. No plowing of the snow. We have snow farms. What? Snow farms. The hell's a snow farm? I'll tell you what it is. It's an abandoned lot in Quincy with some old fat guy in a sweater vest smoking a cigar going, yeah, come on in. We've got a great crop this year. Still got shit from the blizzard of 78. Take some home for the kids. South Boston became a one-way 3 years ago. I don't know if that you remember that, but I do. A major city in a major metropolis. They closed it one way. No more two-way streets because they couldn't get the emergency vehicles down. That's because you got to plow. You got to plow. Oh, no, so you work hard all day. You come home. You can't find a space. Screw it. We're moving to Lowell. Now, I don't know about you, but everywhere you went, people are saying the same thing. It's not the snow's fault. There's just no place to put it. Yeah, there is. Throw it in the ocean. When I was a kid growing up, that's what we did. We had big dump trucks, take them down, throw it into Boston Harbor. What happens when snow hits the water? It melts. It disappears. Marty Walsh could dress up like a magician. Ta-da! Plenty of parking for everyone, but not here. Oh, no. Not with all these environmental wackos, like the dirty people that work at Whole Foods. Now, some of you laugh because you've been to the Whole Foods. And the rest of you in the room going, oh, well, I'm sorry, then we're from Lowell. What is this Whole Foods of which you speak? We don't go there. We go to Shaw's or Stop and Shop or Market Basket, which is the Spanish Stop and Shop. Now, yeah, try not to laugh at that one. Go ahead. Market Basket's a big donator here, big, and we love Market Basket. Great sponsors, and we appreciate everything they do. Yeah, they're fabulous. Thank you, Market Basket, for helping up the Salvation Army and all the other good things you do. But you're not kidding me. I went into that Market Basket during the blizzard. I went up to a guy, I go, you got milk? He said, see. Eggs? See. Bread? See. No, I don't see, Pedro. Help me out. Where is this stuff? I got a family that's starving. So I tried to go to Whole Foods. I went in. And they said, no, clean food. Clean food at Whole Foods, Jack. All right. So the food was clean, but the people who worked there, they were disgusting. Matted hair, shit stains on their shirt, dirty fingernails. Guy tried to sell me a pint of blueberries for $180. I said, what do you got in it? The body of Christ? So I'm new there. I'm walking. I'm old now, so I don't know if the kid's a hippie or a hipster, but he had a pork pie hat on, skinny little tie, and a name tag, Tad. Whole Foods associate, really full of himself. Not an employee, he's an associate. So he comes creeping out from behind the display of organic cornflakes, walks right up to me, goes, I know who you are. I looked at his name tag, I said, I know who you are too. You're Tad. I thought his head was going to explode. You know me? Oh yeah, Tad, everybody knows you. They're out in the parking lot building a statue of your likeness in snow. You're the man. He said, first time here, Mr. Clark? I said, yes, Tad, it is. Go easy on me. He says, is there anything you're looking for in particular? I said, well, Tad, I heard you had some exquisite cheese here at Whole Foods. We do. You're probably talking about our cloth-wrapped cheddar. I said, no, Tad, I'm thinking more along the lines of some duct tape Gouda. You got any of that? So now he's on to me. He says, you know, Mr. Clark, I've been to a couple of your shows. Some of the stuff you say I don't like. I said, just some of the stuff, Tad? Tell me what you hate the most. He goes, when you throw the snow in the ocean. I said, that's right, Dad. I said, you can't do that, Mr. Clark. I said, why? He said, because of all the salt and the sand. I said, what the hell you think is in the ocean, Dad? I'm so happy that you people showed up, that it's a wonderful, not just for Mike and for the beautiful event and what these wonderful people at the Salvation Army do, but breakfast wasn't bad. And I like food. For those who don't know me, I used to be a big fat bastard. I was 388 pounds with a size 56-inch waist. How can I explain it? I was so fat, my wife started saying stuff like, you can have sex with other people now. Really? Yeah, go ahead. I don't care. People said, did you go to that, to get that gastric bypass thing? I went to have that done. Walked to see my doctor. He said, Jesus, honey, are you fat? And I said, thanks, doc. You wonder why I don't come around more often. He said, what do you want? I said, I want you to do that thing where you gut me like a fish, you take out my insides, sew me back up, and every couple of days I can have like a grape or a pea or maybe lettuce with tofu spray, just so I can get back to wearing men's pants. Because I was so fat, 56, I was wearing sweatpants. Every time I got a chance, I would, my wife goes, you're not going to wear sweatpants for the rest of your life. I said, you're not the boss of me. And she waved the big diamond around. I go, maybe you are. But when she wasn't around, I'd put those sweatpants on, and I was the king. I'd walk down the street, people say, Lenny, going to the gym? Nope, I'm just a fat bastard who doesn't wear pants anymore. So one day, the doctor says, there's nothing I can do to help you. You got to lose 70 pounds. 70 pounds? If I got to lose 70 pounds, I don't have to listen to your horse shit. So I left. I was depressed. I remember I was laying on the couch, watching the Patriots, eating crack crab on my belly like an otter. And all I had on was gym shorts, and I was just using them for a napkin. Now, I know that's a visual a lot of you women could win a lifetime without me plugging it to your head, but my psychiatrist said I should be more open and honest. Court ordered. Now, what happens? My wife comes walking in the room and says, honey, do I look fat to you? I said, look at me. I'm an otter. As long as you're married to me, you'll never be fat. Now get out of the way of the TV. I got money on this game. And she says, do you still find me attractive? I said, if I could stand under my own power, I'd bang you right now. Where's my reaching stick? So now, thank you. Some of you right there with me, and the runs on the outer shells, it's like you're drowning in a lake, and I'm going by in a boat going, pity. Now, what happens? She says, I think I'm going to go to Weight Watchers. I said, that's a great idea, honey. Bring me back a case of beer. And she says, well, I have no one to go with. I said, well, we'll call your friends. She said, I did. None of them will go with me. I said, tell you what, I love you so much. If you wait till after this game, there's a break before the next game, I'll go to Weight Watchers with you. She says, you can't go. I said, what? Now I'm going. Where's my moo-moo? Now, Dennis Leary was in Hawaii shooting a movie, and he was worried about me eating myself to death, so he bought me a muumuu. And my wife came in and said, "What are you wearing, a dress?" I said, "What are you, new? It's a muumuu." You're not going out of the house in that. Put on some sweatpants. I went, I win. So now, we went down to Weight Watchers. I grabbed a beer and a sandwich. We jumped in the car. We went into Weight. Now, I don't know if any of you have been to Weight Watchers, but it's a fabulous organization. And they were very instrumental in saving my life. But it was all women. 56 women. 56 big women. 56 huge women. And they're all looking at me like they wanted to eat me. And not in a sexual way. So now, I'm signing in. They go, "That's Lenny Clark, the comedian. Lenny Clark, the actor." I said, "Hey, I'm fat. I'm not deaf, you bitches. Help me." They thought I was there to make fun of them. A funny movie about fat women. I said, "No, I'm eating myself to death. Please help me." And once they realized I was on the up and up, they were kind and compassionate and sweet. And they took me, I guess what you call as a wing, and they started teaching me things like portion control and food grouping and exercise. They said, "Can you walk, Lenny?" I said, "I don't know, maybe if you help me up." So 6 of them got me to my feet, and I was walking. It was like a revival meeting. "Walk, Lenny, walk." And I was headed for some treats at the back of the room. And I went home that night, and I said, if I listen to those women, I'll actually lose weight. So the next day I went for a walk. I made it about 8 blocks. I thought I was having a heart attack. So I called Domino's, and I gave the kid an extra 50 to take me home with the pizza. Oh, I was fat, but I was crafty. Now, if you are a fat guy and you're going to go walking, do yourself a favor. Don't wear corduroy. Don't do it. People will hear you coming from blocks away. If you get going down a hill, there's a slight chance you may build up a little momentum. You could start a small brush fire in this area. Now, trying to help. He's the best chef in the world right over there. Look at him. Oh, my God. Benny. Yeah, Benny. I eat your food. I stay trim. You know it. But I got to tell you, you're not drinking today, so, I'm a little bit disappointed. But it's a morning thing. But later on, if you are drinking, do yourself a favor. Don't drive. Because I was in Las Vegas 3 weeks ago, and I was drinking with these millennials. And I know they're millennials because they kept telling me, "We're millennials." I go, "Good, you paid a tab." And they said, "Well, we've had too much to drink. We better get a ride." And they go, "Now you're talking smart." So they said, "Let's take an Uber." And I go, "An Uber? Are you people all familiar with Uber? You have Ubers up in Lowell?" "Okay, all right. Some of you, yes. Some of you, no. It's okay. Don't be shy." I wasn't into the space age either. But this Uber, I said, "What's an Uber?" They go, "It's like a fancy taxi." I go, "A fancy taxi? Let me see that." And they go, "Well, you need the app." I said, "I don't have an app." They go, "Yeah, you do. It's on your phone." I go, "It's not on my phone." So the millennial takes my phone, ticky, 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 and now I get the app. So I press the Uber app, and they're like sharks circling my house trying to get in. Now, for those of you who don't have the app, when you get the app, be very careful. Because when you hit confirm, they show right up. Because I'm in the kitchen, I hit confirm, I hear a noise, I turn around, and there's a guy in my living room. I said, "Who the hell are you?" He goes, "I am the Uber." I go, "Where are you from?" He goes, "Egypt." I go, "How'd you get in there?" He goes, "That's what we do." So I get him out of the house, we get in the car, and I said, "Okay, we're in Somerville now." I said, "I want to go over to that Encore, that hotel. See the big light, Encore? About 2 miles away? Let's go." He goes, I don't know how. I go, No, it's right there. The Encore. Take me. I don't know how to get there. I go, "Let me get this straight. You made it all the way from Egypt to Somerville, and you can't make it from Somerville to that big building over there? Here's $50. Sit over there. I'll drive." Now, I know you said to be clean, but I'm going to leave with this one. You people, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for coming out here, donating, and doing everything you do to support the Salvation Army. Because you know how wonderful they are, and they're always there, always helping other people. But there are going to be some events coming up in the next couple of months you don't want to go to. The rubber chicken circuit. "Oh, yeah, nice to be here." It's all bullshit. If you, the wife says, "We got to go," the husband says, "We have to go." The next time you find yourself at one of those events that you won't want to be at, tell this joke. I pretty much guarantee they'll ask you to leave. Kid comes home from school, walks in the kitchen, walks right by his mother, goes into the living room, says, Dad, I think I'm a moron." He said, "Don't talk like that." I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, the teacher's asking all these questions in school. I'm falling behind. I don't think I can keep up." He goes, "Well, run one of the questions by me." He said, "Okay, what's the difference between hypothetically and realistically?" Father goes, "Geez, that's a pretty good question. Go out in the kitchen, ask your mother if she'd have sex with a total stranger for $1 million. So he goes out, "Hey, Mom, would you have sex with a total stranger for $1 million? Mom thinks about it for a minute and says, "I think I might." So he goes, "Dad, Mom said she might." He goes, "Calm down. Go upstairs, ask your 18-year-old sister if she'd have sex with a total stranger for $2 million. So he goes upstairs, kicks in his sister's bedroom door, and says, sis, would you have sex with a total stranger for $2 million? She says, in a heartbeat. So he says, Dad, they both say they do it. So the father goes, okay, hypothetically, we're sitting on $3 million. Realistically, we're living with a couple of whores. Hey, you people have been wonderful, Rita. Mike, I love you. All right. Where's Baracus?
That was great. That was great. So, Lenny, you did it exactly the way I told you to do it. Great job. You did it great. And I told you to wear the pink one, not the blue one. But that's all right. Anyway, we're almost there. We're almost there. You having fun? Lenny, you made our day. Okay, here we go. Some people want great things to happen. Some wish for it to happen. And others, like yourself, make it happen. We are put on this earth not to see through each other, but to see each other through. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just that little extra. You are the very special people who go the extra mile, who get up very early as you did this morning to attend a breakfast that you probably never eat on any other day. But you are here and you did it to help people you probably will never know. You did it to help other families by your kind gesture, and I thank you very, very much. To Captains Timothy and Nicole Ross, Salvation Army commanding officers, to WCAP, Sam Poulton, Teddy Panos and staff, to those of you listening to this broadcast and will contribute to this great cause, the Salvation Army, to our honorary guest, Mike Kunzler, and I could have said so many nice things about you, but I thought they would do that and you needed the humor, because I know they'd never deliver it, but that's all right. And to his roasters instead of roosters, but that's all right. Thanks for being such great sports. And to the wait staff here this morning, great job. To the Jarvis family and crew for Driven to Give, we thank you. To all our sponsors, thank you, each of you, so very much. And I will leave you with our closing benediction. I don't have the program anymore. I completely lost it. But I want to thank you very much for letting me, I don't know if I bored you or what this morning, but thank you for letting me be a part of this beautiful day. And if I put a smile on your face, it's all worth it. But I'd like to introduce the advisory board member, Reverend David Allen, for the benediction. Thank you so much for being such great people. Take your time there, Father.
Let's stand, please. My wife and I moved our family here 1994. So for 25 years, we have considered this our home, and we have enjoyed the blessings of all that you have made this region to be, and I appreciate that, and I say thank you. Let's pray. Father, you have empowered us with the vision of blessing all around us, with our works of ministry, with our gifts of love. Your Son, our Lord Jesus, pronounced a blessing on those who give, on those who feed the hungry, clothe the naked, visit the sick in prison. Lord, you've shown us that all of us are created equal. You've endowed us with unalienable rights, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. As we head off to our callings for the day, we go not in a spirit of overwhelm or mundaneness or boredom or even insignificance, but in the power of your Holy Spirit to do our jobs in a way that brings this city, this region, this commonwealth, this nation, this world into the holy, hopeful garden that you designed it to be. For this empowerment, we give you thanks. Amen.
Thank you. That concludes this morning's breakfast. See you next year, and still, if you pass a kettle, please put some money in it. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you, Michael.